Hey everyone, it's Kim from Kim Woodwinds, and welcome to my channel. It's been a while since I've had a talking video, and I hope you enjoy this one. This video is a follow-up to the transverse versus pendant ocarina video I did a while back. Shortly after making that video, I had the realization that there's a misconception among beginners. People sometimes think that the only real types of ocarinas are the transverse and the pendant. I'm creating this video to dispel that misconception. We're going to be looking at unusual ocarinas that don't fit into the category of transverse or pendant. The ocarinas that I will be showing you are just as serious instruments as the transverse or the pendant ocarinas that you know. The first category I'd like to discuss is perhaps the least known, which are alternative tuning ocarinas. When we talk about the transverse ocarina or the pendant ocarina, the primary scale is a major diatonic, and it allows you to play the chromatics in between. Alternative tuning ocarinas use a different scale. One of the most common ones use the minor pentatonic scale. And if that sounds familiar to you, that's because that's the same scale that's used on Native American flutes. Being a vessel flute, ocarinas can be tuned to a whole lot of different modes. Different tunings. Some of them sound really unique and even microtonal. You can get an ocarina specially tuned to maybe the Japanese akebono scale, or maybe one suited for the tuning of Carnatic music. You can get it in different modes, maybe Dorian, maybe Lydian. You can get it in a minor diatonic scale, or whatever else you can imagine. Alternative tuning ocarinas open a whole new world of different musical possibilities. Now, back to the part I didn't forget. Some of the instruments that get a lot of bad press are the Peruvian ocarinas. But I like them because of the microtonal possibilities that they offer, giving you some really unique scales that you wouldn't be able to get with any other instrument. Under alternative tuned ocarinas are alternative tuned MultiChamber ocarinas. This first one here that I was playing earlier is actually a drone ocarina. So it plays much like a Native American flute with two chambers. Unlike the usual double ocarina, where you have the second chamber playing a different octave, the second chamber on this serves as accompaniment, sort of like a drone on a bagpipe. There's also a thumb hole on the second chamber that allows you to switch up the notes. Here's another example of an alternative tuned multi-chamber ocarina. This one gives you full control of both chambers by putting finger holes on each side. It's also tuned in minor pentatonic. The chambers are tuned a fifth apart. You can think of it as two whole ocarinas that you can play together. The first category we looked at was about alternative tunings. This time we're looking at alternative fingerings. These ocarinas use the same scale as your usual transverse or pendant, but the finger patterns that are used to achieve those same notes are quite different. For example, this is a 7-hole ocarina with 6 holes on the front and a thumb hole on the back. And it's unusual because you have to open the thumb hole before you start opening the left-hand holes. Here's another one with a really unique fingering system that's sort of like a combination between the transverse and the pendant ocarina, where the first 3 notes are cross-fingered, and everything else is played like a transverse or an inline ocarina. I was debating whether or not I should include this third category in the video, which is about inline ocarinas. Inline ocarinas are somewhat popular because of brands like Hind Ocarinas or Mountain Ocarinas, like this one over here. But there are some really different looking ones that you can still classify as an inline ocarina. Just as a quick refresher, inline ocarinas often use the same fingering pattern as you would find on a transverse ocarina, but instead of being held like this, it's held like this, vertically, similar to how you would hold a tin whistle or a recorder. Here's an example of an unusual inline ocarina. Although it uses the same basic fingering pattern as a 10-hole ocarina, it's shaped like a pendant. Here's another example of an unusual inline ocarina called the Tonette. If I'm not mistaken, these instruments were popular around the time of the Second World War. Although they weren't marketed as ocarinas, for all intents and purposes, it is an inline ocarina. They are made of plastic, made of either bakelite or ebonite. And I have seen some modern ones that are made from ABS. What I love about this instrument is it's half the size of a soprano recorder, but because of the physics of a vessel flute, you still get the same root note as a soprano recorder. And the final category I'd like to discuss are Shoons. Although they aren't exactly ocarinas because they lack the wind way, they are still in the family of vessel flutes. And it's not uncommon to see music stores that sell ocarinas also selling Shoons. X-U-N-S. Shoons are played in a similar manner of how we would play a note on a bottle. You blow across the opening on the top, and like an ocarina, you use your fingers to manipulate the tone. And like ocarinas, they come in a host of different tunings and fingering patterns. Like this one has a fingering pattern similar to a tin whistle. This one right here is a really special one that has a fingering pattern exactly the same as a pendant ocarina. And this one where the fundamental scale is a pentatonic major. These instruments that I'm showing you guys really just scratch the surface of what an ocarina is. The ocarina is an ancient instrument that you can find in many cultures across the world throughout time. And along that really long history, it's found shapes and types that come in so many different forms, all of which are useful and serious instruments in their own musical contexts. That wraps up the video for today, and if you enjoy content like this, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below to let me know what other topics you would like me to cover, and have a good day!